All right. Good morning, everybody. It's so wonderful to see everyone. We are now going to talk a little bit about Parshas Toldos. Toldos, we know the story of Rebecca being pregnant with two children. She's a little confused what's going on. When she passes by the study hall, the baby kicks. When she passes by the house of idolatry, the baby kicks. So she goes to a prophet, and the prophet says, "Guess what? You have twins. And there are going to be two different nations. One is going to be serving Hashem, and one is going to be serving idolatry." And she was then calm. Oh, okay, finally. She's calm. It's not one child confused, but rather it's two separate children, which is an interesting thing onto its own. What do you mean now she's happy? What does it mean now she's happy? You're going to have a son who's an idolater. What's wrong? That's not a great thing. Like, why would that calm her down? Okay, our sages teach us because the benefit of the Yaakov is going to be so great that it will supersede all the negative that she experiences from Esav. Okay, very interesting. Then we look a little bit further into the Parsha, chapter 25, verse 28. Vayeh hav Yitzchak es Esav, ki tzayid bifiv, v'Rivka oheves es Yaakov. Very, very interesting verse. Isaac loved Esav, for he put game in his mouth. He fed him. V'Rivka oheves es Yaakov, but Rebecca loves Jacob. This is a very challenging verse. Why is it a very challenging verse? First is, shouldn't you love all your children? Shouldn't you love all of your offspring? Why is there a focus here of like the parents were in a dilemma? Thank you so much. The parents were in a discord. The wife loves one child. The husband loves the other child. The father loves one. The mother loves the other. Shouldn't they both love both? Isn't that a better, healthier way to raise your children? So we also have to understand what love is. We have to understand what is love. See, most people interpret love to be, I fell in love, or I find similarities. But our sages teach us that that's not what love is. Love is seeing the virtue of a person. Love is seeing the potential of a person and connecting to that. And this makes a lot of sense. Rivka saw the unbelievable potential in Yaakov, and that's what she loved. And Isaac saw the unbelievable potential in Esav. Isaac saw Esav, if he used his power, if he used his abilities, his strengths, his talents for good things, he'd be the greatest of all. And that's what he loved. He loved the potential. While Rebecca, she saw the potential of Yaakov, and that's what she loved. It wasn't that they disliked the other. That's who they focused their love. They saw the potential of that son, of that child. This is a very big fundamental foundation for us in our parenting, in our friendships. What is it that we love in another person? Is it just, oh, this is my good-looking kid? This is my smart kid? This is my talented athlete? You have to find the uniqueness, the specialty of every single child. In a relationship, it's exactly the same. Couples come and they ask, I'm not in love anymore. Well, what got you in love to begin with? Well, if it was just attraction, and now you're not attracted to your spouse, so you got a big problem. But if it was the goodness of their heart, if it was their kindness, if it was the unbelievable potential that they have, then just focus on it and you'll fall in love again. But if it was something that's external, that's fleeting. And what you may like today in looks, you may like something different tomorrow. So a person needs to be very careful when we talk about love, when we talk about building a relationship with another person, it has to be focused on the right things. But I want to talk about something here. The verse just after this just before this, says the following. Vayigdalu Anaorim, and the youths grew up. Vayhi Esav ish yodei tzayid, and Esav became a man who knows hunting. Ish Sadeh, a man of the field. V'Yaakov ish tam yoshev oholim. But Jacob was a man who was wholesome, dwelling in tents. We see here something that we've seen many, many times already in the book of Genesis. And that is, we have two forces in this world. We have the force of heaven, and we have the force of earth. God created the heaven and the earth. There are two forces. These two forces are constantly battling it out. Another very interesting thing. When Esav is born, we see that Yaakov is holding on to his ankle. He's holding on to his heel. That's why he's called Yaakov, Akev. Akev is the heel. He's holding on to the bottom of Esav's leg. If you want to focus, you want to develop into a spiritual person, you're always going to be at the heel. You're not going to be at the head. It's not going to be easy for you to just grow and attain great levels. You're going to face challenges. And here we come with the question. We see that till Yaakov was 63 years old, Yaakov didn't get the blessing from his father. And Yaakov was in a state of discomfort with who am I? What am I supposed to be doing here? My father doesn't acknowledge my greatness. Maybe I'm wrong. Until when he was 63 years old, his father gave him the blessing. And why did he give him the blessing? What does the Torah tell us? Because Yaakov fed him. Yozed Yaakov nizid adoshim. And Yaakov, where's that verse? 20. After it says that Yitzchak loved Esav and Rivka loved Yaakov. Vayozid Yaakov nizid, and Adoshim was regarding Esav earlier. But here Jacob stewed a stew. I'm sorry. It's right over here with Esav. He stewed a stew. Vayavo Esav min asadav huoyev. And then what happens? And Esav comes in from the field, and he was exhausted. He was exhausted from what? From killing. From hunting. It says over here, Rashi says that he was tired. Beritzicha. He murdered someone. Till this point, Yaakov is still not accepted by his father as being someone who's great. Meaning his father didn't really see that. I want to share with you an incredible... But by the way, how did Esav convince his father that he was great? It's very, very clever. He asked him questions. You know, they say that if you want to curry favor with someone, acknowledge their wisdom and ask them for advice, even if it doesn't mean anything to you, even if it's not, you hear this, Mark, right? Ask them questions. Then they'll say, wow, this guy is really attentive. He listens to me. He asks me questions, right? Esav understood this. Esav goes to his father and he says to him, how do we do ma'aser? How do we tithe from the salt? How do we tithe from the crops from the field? He starts asking him questions. His father thinks he's a big scholar. Now, Yitzchak didn't know that Esav wasn't a great guy. So we know that Yitzchak was blind. Yitzchak was blind. See, he didn't see who was who. And he was being tricked. This trick went on for 63 years. This trick went on. I want to read to you an Orach Chaim. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says an amazing thing here about Yaakov serving food to his father to his father Yitzchak. Vayozed Yaakov, he says, and Yaakov stewed a stew. What suddenly happened that Yaakov, after 63 years, decides, you know what? I know how to get my father to like me. I'm going to feed him some food, just like Esav did. I'm going to become a chef. I'm going to cook some food for my father, and like this, I'll be able to curry favor with him. Mashalo asa adayom. He didn't do till that day. He did not serve his father food. Kivon shiro Yaakov sheYitzchak ohev Esav. Since Yaakov saw that Yitzchak loved Esav, v'ro she'asu she'Esav misase kol yom b'matamim la'aviv, and he sees that Esav is always busy serving food to his father. Choshev shegam hu yivashel la'aviv v'ulai al yidei ze yisochen be'enei aviv. I'll do the same. I'll feed my father food, and then my father will find favor in my eyes. I'll find favor in my father's eyes, and then I'll get blessings from him. V'pirusho shel davar hayu shenetias hu shenetias Yitzchak al Esav goram tsar liYaakov. It caused pain to Yaakov that the love that Isaac had was primarily for his son Esav. It caused him pain. But you know what he did? You know what Yaakov did? Yaakov overcame his temptation to just listen to the Yetzer Hara. Because every single person who wants to grow and become holy and become righteous and become a scholar in Torah will always have the Yetzer Hara pulling and tugging, saying, you know what? Maybe go to this place. Maybe hang out with those people. Maybe be like them. And then you'll have all the favors. Then you'll have all the gifts. Then you'll have all the success. Yaakov, 63 years, had that push of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is telling him, look at Esav. Look how Esav is so beloved by your father. If you want to find favor in your father's eyes, do the same as Esav. And he withheld. V'lakach nisa b'drachim acherus kigon ba'asiyas mat'amim b'choshvo shema b'kach timoshech das aviv l'tzido. See, finally, at 63 years old, he says, you know what? I figured it out. It's not being like Esav in his actions, being a hunter. It's not like being like Esav, involved in trickery. It's the food. You know what they say? The way to reach a Jewish soul is through the stomach. Right? You feed a Jewish person food, you got him. So every Jewish event has food. There's no such thing. You don't just come to every Jewish event is about food. Here in our classes too, by the way, right? The Or Chaim says, Yaakov finally figured out that if he wants to get to his father, this is the way. Now, Yitzchak was no silly person. Yitzchak knew, he understood. Yitzchak was a wise, righteous, one of our patriarchs. He wasn't a fool. He convinced him with food. It's amazing that we see that throughout Yaakov's journey, he never turned his back on Hashem, ever. To the point where it says in Malachi, in the prophets, it says, V'ohev es Yaakov, Hashem loves Jacob, V'es Esav senesi, and I hated Esav. All of this to teach us something very, very important, is that every single person needs to strengthen himself with their knowledge of Hashem, knowing what the right thing to do is, and not let go. We cannot let go. When we are in our service of Hashem, no matter how difficult it may seem, no matter how difficult we may find ourselves in a situation that is so complicated, where the Yetzer Hara is just feeding us temptation after temptation, be like Yaakov. Yaakov doesn't stop. in his service of Hashem. He says, one day I'll get there. One day I'll get there, that even my father will recognize my greatness. He says an amazing thing here. We mentioned this previously as well, that we all have the same abilities as our ancestors. We all have the same journey, or the stories that are written in the Torah are not just stories. They're prophecies to teach us about our lives. We all have the Jacob within us. We all have the ability within ourselves to reach the same heights, to reach the same greatness that Yaakov reached. But we're going to need to have the same perseverance that Yaakov had as well. Even 63 years of doubt, he says, I'm going to stay strong. And I'm going to keep my commitment to Hashem. I'm going to keep my commitment to the Torah. Notwithstanding that I see in front of my eyes that the Yetzer Hara is pulling the strings, that Esav is being more loved by Isaac than Jacob. And it seems to be something's out of whack here. It's very easy to give up. My friend has a quote that he always says. He says, quitters always finish first. Okay? Quitters always, right? You want to finish first, just quit and you'll finish first. But if you want to win, you can't quit. You can't quit. In our service, if there's anything that we want to attain in any single trait, you want to become perfect in any specific trait, the trait of emunah, the trait of chesed, the trait of patience, you know what's going to happen? You're going to try, and you're going to try, and you're going to fail. And you're going to try, and you're going to fail. And you're going to try, and you're going to fail. So you have two options now. Keep on trying or give up. Say, you know what? I'm just going to stop trying. Or you be like Yaakov, and you say, I'm not going to give up. And the day will come where I will find that success, where I'm going to be able to accomplish. You imagine, Yaakov, we'll see soon when we talk about Parshas Vayetze, the greatness of Yaakov. But Yaakov never gave up. He never, ever went to a point of saying, you know what? Let me just try going on the other side of the tracks. Let me try that. Let's see how that works. Never. Not once. Yaakov continued to work on himself, to work on his relationship with Hashem, to work in his growth, to work in his study of Torah, and never ever stopped till he attained the success that he so much desired. I think that we spoke previously, earlier, we spoke about the importance of us as parents, our responsibility to ensure that our children know that they're loved. The importance for us to see the potential in every child, even the rotten child, even the one who's not going our ways. You think Isaac didn't love Jacob? Of course he loved him. You think Isaac didn't admire his son Yaakov? No, he just saw that Esav needed more. Esav needed more. But Yaakov still wanted to connect on a higher level with his father. He wanted to get that blessing. Oh, how is he going to get that blessing? He's going to get that blessing using another method. He's going to try something different. He's not going to sell out. He's going to just try a different method. Even if it takes 63 years, like it did for Yaakov, it's worth it. Because we always have to remember that although we are the great 140, 150 generations or more from Yaakov, We are the patriarchs for our children and our grandchildren. And what we are doing is we are setting the path for their success. We are setting the path for their accomplishments. We're giving them the strength. And when we recognize that responsibility, we have unbelievable broadened shoulders that help us grow, that help us elevate everything that we touch, because we realize we're on a mission. We realize that it's not just me right now with my challenge. I'm here facing that challenge for all my future generations. I'm setting a path forward for them. It's an important thing for us to recognize that we have a Yetzer Hara. We have a evil inclination that is constantly trying to pry us away. Every single day, coming here to our class. Should I go? Should I not go? Maybe I should watch the news. Maybe I should. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe. And does anybody feel the same? You have that challenge? Maybe, maybe not. Yetzer Hara is working. That means we're growing. Because if he wasn't throwing that challenge in front of us, maybe we're not on the battlefield. When we're in the battlefield, we're going to have challenges. Every single time. It's always going. Sometimes we'll win, and sometimes we'll lose. Sometimes we'll be able to overcome that Yetzer Hara, and sometimes we're going to fail. You know what we do? We just get back up. It's an interesting thing. I wanted to mention this earlier, and that is we see Sheva Yipol Tzadik Vikam. It says that the righteous fall 7 times. Our sages teach us that the number 7 is the number of nature. God created the world in 7 days. That's the nature. The steady state of something is 7. So what happens when the steady state of a righteous person is 7? They fall 7 times because if you want to grow, you're going to fall. But you know what happens after Vikam? They get back up. They fall, they get back up. They don't stay down. They don't say, you know what, I give up. They don't say for 63 years, Jacob tried and fell, tried and fell, tried and fell, till, it worked. That's our job. Our job is to be that tzaddik who never gives up, who says, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm going to continue trying. Because the natural state of a righteous person is they fall. But the falling is not the part we emphasize. It's the getting up that we emphasize. Vikam, he gets up again. He falls and he falls and he falls and he gets up again. And anybody who thinks that the Chafetz Chaim didn't have a challenge with Lashon Hara, you're fooling yourself. He did, which is why he became so great. Because every time he fell, he got back up again. And he fell and he got back up again. And who knows if the journey of the Chafetz Chaim becoming so incredibly famous for Lashon Hara, not speaking Lashon Hara, but avoiding the speech of Lashon Hara, speaking slanderously about another person. Who knows if all of his fame came because he struggled with it so much, so he says, you know what, I'm going to write a book about it. So that'll help me grow in this area. Who knows? We are in a world, we're not here for free. We're here to accomplish. We're here to make changes. We're here to grow. We're here to challenge ourselves to take another step and to never give in to the Yetzer Hara. Never give in to the easy answer. Go for the right answer. Not what's convenient, but what's the right thing for me to do. My dear friends, have an amazing Shabbos. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi.